Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of Michel Serres today, and specifically his work on detachment.
Always a fascinating topic.
Yeah, and I think maybe a little bit intimidating for a Tuesday morning, but
Well, it's not as austere as it sounds.
Right.
Detachment, as Serres sees it, isn't about, like, becoming a monk on a mountaintop.
Right.
It's more about detaching from certain ways of thinking, the things that might be holding us back from really engaging with the world.
Okay, yeah, so detaching from those things that we think are important or that we think are crucial to our identity, but actually maybe they're not.
Exactly.
And to kind of illustrate this, Serres takes us on a kind of a surprising detour through Chinese rice paddies.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? He was really struck by the intensity of Chinese agriculture.
So he actually went to China.
He did, yeah, and he talks about how every inch of land is just meticulously cultivated, like a perfectly organized puzzle.
So almost like a representation of a completely different way of thinking about the world and about progress, even.
Exactly. He saw it as a detachment from that Western emphasis on individual progress and ambition.
Yeah.
It's more about the collective good in that kind of landscape.
Yeah. So like the very land itself embodies this idea of detachment.
Right. And this leads us to a key concept in Serres' work, the remainder.
Okay, the remainder. I like the sound of that already.
He talks about how even in those perfectly cultivated rice paddies, there are these tiny patches of land left untouched.
So they don't plant on every single square inch.
Exactly. They leave these little bits, these remainders.
Huh. And what do those remainders represent for Serres?
Well, they're like the things we tend to overlook or dismiss because they don't fit into our neat little boxes,
The things that exist outside the margins.
Precisely. They challenge the dominant narrative.
Okay, so by focusing on those remainders, are we, questioning the stories we tell ourselves about the world?
100%. Serres wants us to shift our perspective, to look at the margins instead of the center.
To see what's been pushed aside or ignored?
Right. And he even uses the image of flying or levitation to describe this shift.
Flying. Now we're really getting metaphorical.
Think of it as achieving a bird's eye view, Serres compares the Chinese peasant to a kite.
A kite. Okay.
Tethered to the earth, yeah. But with their head in the clouds, able to see the bigger picture.
So even though they are physically rooted in the land, there's also this element of detachment. This ability to see things from a new perspective.
And this sense of upward movement. It's not just a metaphor, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Serres points out how even traditional Chinese architecture, with those curved roofs, seems to guide the eye upwards.
Towards the heavens.
Exactly. Like it's encouraging this sense of detachment from the purely earthly realm.
It's like a built-in reminder to look beyond the everyday.
Exactly. To detach from our fixed perspectives.
But this idea of detachment, it's not just about physical spaces or even cultures, right?
Right.
It goes deeper than that.
Absolutely. And to explore those deeper layers, Serres turns to, well, where else but the world of myths and stories?
Myths. I am intrigued.
Yeah, myths, they offer these really powerful metaphors for human experience.
Right.
And Serres, he's a master at unpacking those metaphors.
Okay, so we're going from rice paddies to ancient myths. This deep dive just took an interesting turn.
You gotta love Serres. He always keeps you on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're diving into the world of myths to understand detachment better.
Myths, yeah.
They offer these incredible metaphors,
Right.
And Serres uses them brilliantly.
Yeah.
Like this one myth he really digs into.
Okay.
The tale of the golden bough.
Oh, yeah. The golden bough. I've heard of them.
It's a classic, right?
Yeah.
This sacred grove guarded by a priest.
Okay.
And the catch is, the priest can only be replaced if someone kills him.
Oh, wow. Talk about a high-stakes job.
Yeah.
Right? So, how does this relate to detachment?
Well, imagine being that priest.
Okay.
So consumed by holding on to power that you actually forget the very thing you're protecting, the sacred grove itself.
It's like being so focused on, I don't know, climbing the corporate ladder.
Yes.
That you forget why you wanted to be in the company in the first place.
100%.
Yeah.
The golden bough, it becomes this symbol for how our pursuit of power, whether it's title or possession, whatever,
right.
It can blind us to what truly matters.
Yeah, we get so caught up in the game, we forget why we're even playing.
It's so true.
And this doesn't just apply to, positions of power, right?
Oh.
I know there have been times when I've been so focused on a project that I've, maybe let relationships slide a little.
Right, or neglected your own well-being.
Exactly.
It's a trap we can all fall into. And you know what?
What?
Serres, He takes it even further.
Okay.
He connects this myth to the world of knowledge.
Okay, to academia?
Exactly. Academia. Think about it.
Okay.
Academics, they pursue knowledge, right?
Right.
But they can get so fixated on their own theories,
right,
their reputations, the prestige of their institutions.
Your own little piece in the pie.
Exactly. They might even, engage in these intellectual battles.
Oh, for sure.
Just like that struggle for the golden bough.
So even in the pursuit of understanding, there's that risk of becoming attached to the wrong things.
Absolutely. Ego, status, winning arguments, you name it.
Yeah, yeah.
And to really highlight this, Serres brings in this character.
Okay.
Who embodies radical detachment.
Okay, who's that?
Diogenes.
Ah, Diogenes, the philosopher who lived in a barrel.
The one and only.
What a legend.
This guy.
Yeah.
Chooses to live with the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Challenging the very idea of power and status.
Like completely rejecting societal norms.
Totally. And you know that famous story about him and Alexander the Great?
No, tell me.
Alexander the Great comes up to Diogenes.
Okay.
And asks him, is there anything I can do for you?
Oh, wow.
And Diogenes just looks at him and says, yeah, stand out of my sunlight.
Oh, my God. That is amazing.
Talk about detachment.
And he's like, your power means nothing to me.
Exactly. But here's where Serres challenges us.
Okay.
He asks, did Diogenes truly achieve detachment?
Wait, really?
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
He rejected material wealth,
right,
social status, all of that.
Yeah.
But was he truly free from the desire for recognition?
Ooh, I see what you mean.
Even his rejection of power
right,
could be seen as a kind of performance.
Right, to gain notoriety.
Exactly.
So even in his extreme detachment, he was still playing the game in a way.
It's a mind-bending thought, isn't it?
Totally. And what about Alexander the Great then?
Right.
He represents the opposite of Diogenes.
On the surface, yes.
Okay.
Alexander's all about power, conquest.
Right.
But even Alexander, Serres suggests, was trapped in his own way, driven by this insatiable desire.
Right, that could never be fulfilled.
Exactly.
So both figures, despite their totally different paths, they were both kind of bound by the same forces.
In a way, yeah.
Wow. That's kind of a heavy thought.
It is. It makes you wonder, can any of us truly escape these societal forces?
Right. Like, are we all just playing different roles in the same system?
It's a profound question. Yeah.
It is.
And it leads us to this other aspect of Serres' work.
Okay.
Where he explores how we relate to, everything around us.
Okay.
The objects we value, the systems that shape our desires,
Okay, so we're going from detachment in, landscapes and myths to detachment in our everyday lives, our relationship with stuff.
Precisely.
So we've talked about detachment in all these different contexts, landscapes and myths, even the lives of philosophers.
Right.
But it all kind of comes back to this question. How does this relate to us,
Exactly. How do we actually live with more detachment in our everyday lives?
Yeah. How do we detach from, I don't know, everything?
It's a big question, for sure. And Serres, he doesn't give us all the answers, but he does offer some really insightful ways of thinking about it.
Okay, so what's one of his key insights?
Well, he argues that one of the biggest obstacles to detachment is actually how we relate to things.
To objects.
Exactly. Objects. We're surrounded by them.
Right? All the time, yeah.
And we tend to, imbue them with all this meaning and value.
Right, we get attached to our stuff.
Exactly. And that attachment, it can really tie us down,
Okay, so how do we start to detach from objects then? It seems almost impossible. They're just so ever present.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But Serres gives us these three concepts to think about. He talks about fetishes, stakes, and commodities.
Those sound like some pretty loaded terms.
They are, right.
Yeah.
But they're really helpful for understanding how we relate to the things around us. So, fetishes.
Okay, fetish.
Think about something you really, really want.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's the latest smartphone.
Oh, I feel like I know where this is going.
Or a designer handbag. Or even something like, a perfectly curated Instagram feed.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
Those things can become fetishes, right?
Right, we obsess over them.
Exactly. We believe they'll bring us happiness or status or whatever.
And we just gotta have them.
Right. And then there are stakes.
Okay, stakes. What are those?
So stakes are a little different. These are the things that we see as essential to our identity.
Okay, like how we define ourselves.
Exactly. Could be our job title.
Yeah, for sure.
Our social media following, our political beliefs.
Right.
We cling to those stakes because they make us feel secure important, like we belong.
Part of a tribe, yeah.
Exactly. And then finally, there are commodities.
Commodities, okay.
This one's a little more straightforward, you know. It's basically anything that can be bought or sold.
Okay, so pretty much everything in our capitalist society.
Right. And Serres argues that, like in our culture, we tend to reduce everything to its market value.
It's all about the price tag.
Exactly.
So instead of appreciating the beauty of a handmade object, we're more concerned with how much we could sell it for.
Exactly. And that kind of thinking, it can really prevent us from connecting with things on a deeper level.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of this connects to detachment, right? Yeah. It's like when we're so busy chasing after the next fetish, or clinging to our stakes, or reducing everything to a commodity.
100%.
We miss out on experiencing the world in a more authentic, more meaningful way.
You got it. And for Serres, that's really what detachment is all about.
It's about breaking free from those external values.
Exactly.
And reconnecting with ourselves and the world around us in a more genuine way.
You said it.
So how do we do that? How do we actually start detaching from all these things we've been taught to value? It feels like swimming upstream.
It's a process, for sure.
Yeah.
And it looks different for everyone.
Right.
But Serres, he offers this really interesting piece of guidance.
Okay.
He points us to the fable of the wolf and the lamb.
The wolf and the lamb. What does it have to do with detachment?
Oh, it seems kind of random, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. We usually see the wolf as the bad guy.
Right. The aggressor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the lamb is the innocent victim.
Yeah, that's how the story usually goes.
But Serres, he challenges us to look at it from a different perspective.
Okay, how so?
He asks, what if the wolf is just acting according to its nature?
Okay, just trying to survive.
Exactly. And what if the lamb, in its seeming innocence, is actually benefiting from a system that portrays it as weak and helpless?
Wow, I've never thought about it like that before.
It's a different way of looking at things, right?
Totally. So are you saying that we should, question the roles we've been assigned?
100%. Serres wants us to see that these power dynamics, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they can really distort our perception of the world.
So how does this all tie back to detachment?
Well, if we can learn to detach from those predetermined roles, if we can start to see things with fresh eyes,
we open ourselves up to new possibilities.
New ways of being in the world.
Exactly. And that, ultimately, is what detachment is all about. It's about recognizing the systems we're a part of, the stories we tell ourselves, and finding the freedom to choose something different. It's not about rejecting everything, but about approaching the world with a sense of curiosity, openness, and a willingness to let go of what might be holding us back. And on that note, we'll leave you to continue your own deep dive into the world of Michel Serres and the power of detachment. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and as always, keep diving deep.